To install the grid bars, begin by marking their positions. Measure out 12 inches from the ledger board on two joists 8 feet apart and snap a chalk line to indicate the position of the first grid bar. Snap additional chalk lines at 24 inches on center. When you reach the outer edge, in our case a beam, a final grid bar must be placed no farther than 12 inches from the edge. Position the first grid bar on the first chalk line aligned with the outer joist. Attach grid bars to the underside of the deck using 2.5-inch stainless steel screws. Use 1 screw per joist. Continue installing the grid bars across the deck, paying close attention that they are installed in the correct order. The water must flow away from the structure. Be sure to level and shim the grid bars as needed. When you reach the outer edge, you may find it easier to install the gutter first, before installing the final grid bar. You may find it helpful to snap up a couple of pieces of UnderShield to help determine the height of your gutter. Be sure to angle your gutter towards the downspout at 1/4 inch per 10 feet of gutter. Finally, install your last piece of grid bar. As you work across the deck, be sure to alternate from front to back as you stagger the bars. Otherwise, you run the risk of too much or too little space between supports. When staggering grid bars to the back side, first make an alignment mark on the grid bar. Then move it to the back side for installation. Also, be sure that any unsupported ends be secured by attaching them to the adjacent grid bar. When you reach the end of the deck, carefully measure for the last row of grid bars so that the end clip installs flush with the end of the deck.